Well, ladies and gentlemen, before we start the opening ceremony, we will inform you that all information about this conference could be accessed from the monitor, from the video on our screens beside our stage on the right side of our stage. So all information could be accessed on that screen. Thank you.
Dear distinguished participants, on behalf of Bina Dharma, I Information Technology, Engineering, and Business Application for HIPAA, and the third Social Science and Economic International Conference. We are very honored to host such a distinguished group of scholars, practitioners, and innovators. Let us engage in meaningful discussion and form connection that will inspire future endeavor. Thank you, and I wish you a fruitful and enriching experience. Once again, thank you very much and enjoy the conference.
This dance, also known as the long fingernail dance, is an Indonesian traditional dance performed to welcome people in weddings. In 1965, Tari Tanggai was created by Mrs. Ellie Rudy, the South Sumatran dance maestro and the Indonesian dance legend. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Tari Tanggai by students of Universitas Bina Dharma. Please give a big round of applause to our dancer.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're delighted to welcome you to the 7th International Conference of Information Technology, Engineering, and Business Application, and the 3rd Social Science and Economic International Conference 2024, with the theme,
Humanizing Technology for Sustainability, Re-examine Research Challenges and Finding Common Ground.
This conference aims to leverage academic research findings to gain better insight into the significance of IT and business application for both national and global economic development for all academic researchers, practitioners, industry, and business persons, as well as policymakers.
Hosted in the city of Pempek, Palembang, Universitas Bina Dharma has the honor to present you this international conference. It is now an honor for us to introduce and welcome the guests at our table.
The Honorable, the Acting Governor of South Sumatra, represented by the Government Expert Staff of Economic, Finance and Development, Dr. Andes Haji Sutoko MSI,
Rector of Universitas Bina Dharma, Profesor Dr. Sunda Aryana MPD MM, represented by the Vice Rector of Academic, Mr. Isman Herdiansyah, MCom PhD, all Vice Rectors, Professors, and Deans.
Our keynote speakers, Professor Vary L. Murizan from IUDN University Rusia, Dr. Muhammad Tahara Ijab from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, Professor Frank Fei Guo from Jiangnan University, China,
Dr. Ruhana Binti Padzil from University Malaya, Malaysia, Professor Nurli Gofar from Universitas Bina Dharma, Indonesia, and also we welcome all the presenters and participants of Ichiba Sosei 2024.
Singing the national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Words of prayers by Mr. Ahmad Hudri, MCom.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everyone. Allow me to lead this opening prayer for the success of today's seminar. I invite each of you to pray in your own way to the Almighty God as we seek blessings and guidance for this gathering to be succeed. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As we gather here from different parts of the world, we are grateful for the opportunity to come together in pursuit of knowledge, growth, and unity. May this international seminar be a space where ideas are shared openly and where we learn from one another with respect and humility. We are reminded that despite our differences in background and perspective, we are united by a common desire to make a positive impact. May each speaker be given wisdom and clarity to present their insights, and may each participant listen with an open mind, finding inspiration and understanding in the knowledge shared. Let this event foster a spirit of collaboration and connection, encouraging us to see beyond our own views and embrace the diversity that each of us brings. As we proceed, may we keep in mind the importance of empathy, kindness, and respect for each other's unique perspectives. Let us build bridges of understanding and break down any barriers that may exist, welcoming the opportunity to grow together. May we create connections that last beyond this day, connections that inspire cooperation and spark future collaborations. We ask for guidance as we navigate today's discussions, that we may approach each topic with a spirit of curiosity and openness. May the conversations we have today not only enrich us intellectually, but also personally, instilling in us a greater commitment to positive change. In this shared space, may everyone feel valued and respected, knowing that each voice here matters. May this seminar be more than an academic gathering. Let it be a step toward building a better, more interconnected world. We conclude this prayer with a hope for a fruitful and a memorable day, one that will leave us all enriched, empowered, and inspired to make a difference. Thank you, and may today be filled with meaningful insights and spirit of unity and inspiration. Amin. Amin ya rabbal alamin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Event report by the Conference Chair of Ichiba Sosei 2024, Mr. Zaid Amin, PhD.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished participants. It's a privilege to welcome all of you to this international conference. This international conference of series, which is held by University of Bina Dharma, the 7th International Conference of Information Technology, Engineering and Business Applications, and the 3rd of Social Science, Economic and International Conference of 2024. We are very honored to have such esteemed assembly of professionals from around the world, especially from United States of America, Russia, China, Argentina, Bangladesh, Malaysia, Tajikistan, and Indonesia as a participant of this event. Today's gathering includes a diverse list of participants, each bringing a unique perspective and expertise that promise to enrich our discussion. We are especially honored to welcome our keynote speaker, Prof. Valery from RUDN University, Russia, Prof. Fei Guo from Zhangnan University, China, Prof. Nurli Gofar from Universitas Bina Dharma, Dr. Muhammad Taha from University Kebangsaan Malaysia, and Dr. Ruhana from University of Malaya, Malaysia. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to an inspiring and productive conference. As university co-hosts, which is I report that there are 6 universities: Universitas Hasanuddin, Universitas Batu Raja, Universitas Srelo, Universitas Muhammadiyah Palembang, Universitas Bunda Mulia, and Universitas Riau. Thank you for all sponsors: Telkom Indonesia, Media Sriwijaya, Universitas Sorasan, Ratu Ayu Decoration, Numa Cafe, Batik Colet, Bank Syariah Indonesia, PTBA, Mega, and others supporting. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to an inspiring and productive conference. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Zaid Amin, PhD, as the chair of Ichiba Sosei 2024.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is the speech of Rector Universitas Bina Dharma, represented by the Vice Rectors of Academic, Mr. Muhammad Isman Herdiansah, PhD.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin, wassalatu wassalamu ala asrofil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Your Excellency Mr. Dr. Andes Haji Sutoko, MSI, represented Acting Governor of South Sumatra. Beliau juga merupakan staf ahli gubernur yang hadir pada pagi hari ini. Selamat pagi, Pak. The Honorable Head of LLDT Region 2, Profesor Dr. Ishak Iskandar, yang sepertinya berhalangan hadir karena memang ada kegiatan lain. Our respected speakers of this conference, Professor Valery L. Muzikan from RUDN University, Russia. Good morning, Prof. I know it is left 4 hours from ours, so it is about 4 o'clock in the morning. Next, our respected speakers, Dr. Muhammad Taha Ijab from University Kebangsaan Malaysia yang telah hadir di ruangan ini bersama kita. The next is Professor Frank Fei Guo from Zhangnan University in China, who will present his paper through the Zoom. The next, our speakers from our beloved university, Prof. Nurli Gofar, yang sudah hadir bersama kita. Kemudian ada Dr. Ruhana binti Fazil from University of Malaya, who also will join on Zoom. With us also presents Dr. Sri Rahayu, Vice Rector of Collaboration from University Muhammadiyah Palembang. Distinguished guests, dear all colleges, ladies and gentlemen, who I cannot say one by one, all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. On behalf of Ibu Rektor Profesor Dr. Sunda Ariana, it is our great pleasure and honor to welcome all participants of the 2024 Bina Dharma University International Conference. It comprises of two conferences: the 7th International Conference on Information Technology, Engineering and Business called ICIBA, and then the 3rd of Social Science and Economic International Conference called by SOSEI 2024 in Palembang. As mentioned by the chair of the conference a few moments ago, this year conference, we are very honored with our partner university as co-host university, and also all the sponsor, participant, partners. I would like to appreciate and thanks to all of you for being willingness to make this conference great, and hopefully we will improve for the next year. For all participants on this occasion, I also would like to congratulate for your scientific involvement and willingness to share your findings, knowledge, skills, and experience in the field of the conference: informatics, engineering, economics, business, communications, as well as other social sciences in this conference. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe this conference can be able to play the important roles in the encouraging and embracing cooperative, collaborative, and also interdisciplinary studies among us, the engineers, scientists, and researchers. It will hopefully improve and strengthen collaborations between our university in many aspects in the future, such as student exchange, joint research and publications, staff exchange, and other programs. I do expect that this kind of similar event will be held in the future as part of our activity in education research and the social responsibilities of university research institutions and industries internationally. Finally, my heartfelt gratitude is dedicated to the organizing committee of this conference and the staff of Universitas Bina Dharma for their generous efforts and contribution toward the success of this international conference. At the time, we hope that the expert staff of Governor would open this conference officially. Kami berharap pada waktunya nanti Bapak staf ahli Gubernur dapat membuka conference ini secara resmi. Thank you very much for all of you. Wallahul muwaffiq ila aqwamit thoriq. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Please stay on the stage, Mr. M. Isman Herdiansyah, PhD. And then we would like to invite Mr. Zaid Amin, PhD, and then Professor Dr. Ahmad Syarifuddin to come to the stage. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Zaid Amin, PhD, as the chairman of this conference, would give a token of appreciation to Mr. M. Isman Herdiansyah, PhD, and then Professor Dr. Ahmad Syarifuddin.
Please give a big round of applause.
And then the second token appreciation to Professor Dr. Ahmad Syarifuddin. Well, after taking pictures, please stay on the stage. And we would like to invite Staf Ahli Gubernur Bidang Ekonomi, Keuangan dan Pembangunan, Dr. Haji Sutaha, MSI, to officially open this conference. The Honorable Dr. Andes Haji Sutoka, MSc, please come to the stage. And we also would like to invite all vice rectors, professors, and deans, conference chairs, and all keynote speakers to come to the stage. Ibu Dr. Yanti Pasmawati, Profesor Nurli,
Professor Nurli Gofar, all keynote speakers,
all the deans, please come to the stage.
Oh, foto dulu ya. Oh ya. Oh ya.
Mr. Nuzeb Almigo, SPSI PhD, would you please to come forward to officially open this event too by hitting the gong?
Well, a symbol of officially opening this conference, Mr. Dr. Andes Haji Sutoka, MSc, would you like to hit the gong? Well, we would like to count to 1, 2, 3, and then please hit the gong. 1, 2, 3.
Give a big round of applause.
Well, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated, and we're going to listen to the welcome speech from
Dr. Haji Sutoka, MSc, Staf Ahli Gubernur Bidang Ekonomi, Keuangan dan Pembangunan Sumatera Selatan.
Pak Rektor,
atau yang mewakili saya izin menggunakan bahasa Indonesia ya. Dan permohonan maaf dari Pak Penjabat Gubernur Sumatera Selatan, Pak Ellen Setiadi, SHMSE, sehubungan pada waktu yang sama beliau sedang menerima Pak Menteri Dalam Negeri, sehingga beliau tidak secara fisik tidak bisa hadir. Beliau menyampaikan salam hormat dan kiranya ketidakhadiran secara fisik beliau tidak mengurangi arti manfaat kegiatan yang sangat luar biasa ini. Kemudian saya staf ahli gubernur bidang ekonomi, keuangan dan pembangunan diminta untuk hadir mewakilinya. Ini tradisi Sumatera Selatan, ada pantun dulu Pak Rektor dan para narasumber. Satu ketan ditambah ragi,
Cakep.
jadikan tape buat nostalgia. Hadirin sekalian selamat pagi, semoga
Cakep.
selalu sehat dan bahagia. Satu lagi pantunnya. Di kereta berdesak-desakan,
Cakep.
melihat orang pakai baju warna-warni.
Cakep.
Bismillah saya ucapkan untuk membuka acara ini. Selanjutnya izinkan kami menyampaikan sambutan tertulis dari Bapak Gubernur Sumatera Selatan, penjabat pada acara pembukaan seri 7 tahun ISBA and Social Science and Economic International Conference yang diselenggarakan oleh Universitas Bina Dharma. Saya mohon maaf untuk level pakai bahasa Indonesia murni, Pak. Saya tidak pandai bahasa Inggris yang menjadi bahasa pada acara pagi hari ini. Yang terhormat Rektor Universitas Bina Dharma, pada kesempatan ini hadir diwakili Wakil Rektor bidang akademik. Terima kasih Pak. Hadir juga Wakil Rektor bidang kerjasama dan kemahasiswaan. Hadir juga Direktur Program Pasca Sarjana yang tidak kami dapat sebut satu persatu. Yang terhormat para narasumber. Hadir Profesor Valery, musikan dari Rusia. Hadir Profesor Frank Feigo dari Cina. Hadir Profesor Norlay Gofar dari Indonesia. Hadir bersama kita Dr. Muhammad Taha Aijab dari Malaysia. Hadir bersama kita Dr. Ruhana Fazil dari Malaysia. Para segenap undangan yang tidak dapat kami sebutkan satu persatu, insya Allah semuanya hadir, dimuliakan Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, Tuhan yang Maha Esa. Mengawali sambutan ini, saya penjabat Gubernur Sumatera Selatan mengajak kita semua senantiasa memanjatkan puji dan syukur kepada Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala atas segala limpahan, rahmat dan karunia kesehatan dan kesempatan sehingga kita dapat hadir pada acara yang sangat baik ini. Selawat beriring salam semoga senantiasa tercurah kepada Nabi besar Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam beserta pengikutnya sampai di akhir zaman kelak. Hadirin sekalian yang berbahagia, perguruan tinggi memiliki peran yang strategis dan sangat besar dalam pembangunan yang berkelanjutan, karena merupakan bagian pusat pendidikan penelitian, dan institusi perguruan tinggi juga berperan sebagai agen perubahan sosial dan ekonomi yang dapat mempengaruhi arah pembangunan berkelanjutan sebuah negara, bangsa, baik regional maupun nasional. Pemerintah Provinsi Sumatera Selatan sangat mengapresiasi dan mensupport terhadap terlaksananya kegiatan ini yang diselenggarakan oleh Universitas Bina Dharma dan unsur-unsur yang mendukung lainnya. Konferensi ini sebagai momentum yang baik untuk mendorong dialog intertrainer dengan hadirnya pembicara utama terkemuka di tingkat dunia, baik dari Rusia, Cina, Malaysia, dan beberapa negara lainnya, sehingga diharapkan dapat menjawab tantangan-tantangan yang kita hadapi yang sangat dinamis ini. Tentunya dibarengi dengan teknologi inovatif dapat mengatasi tantangan sosial dan memberikan kontribusi tak ternilai dalam pembangunan berkelanjutan. Pemerintah Provinsi Sumatera Selatan berharap pengetahuan dan informasi dari penelitian akademis yang dipublikasikan melalui konferensi ini dapat memperkaya inovasi, pengembangan teknologi informasi dan aplikasi bisnis, serta menjadi wadah menumbuhkan pemahaman kolaboratif di antara peneliti, praktisi, dan pemangku kebijakan dalam upaya menjawab tantangan di tingkat nasional dan internasional. Atas partisipasi berbagai pihak guna mendukung kegiatan ini, kami juga memberikan apresiasi yang setinggi-tingginya dan tak lupa kami ucapkan terima kasih kepada jajaran Universitas Bina Dharma yang telah menyelenggarakan konferensi ini. Semoga sukses, berjalan dengan baik, serta dapat mendorong teknologi informasi komunikasi serta pertumbuhan pembangunan ekonomi nasional, ekonomi regional, dan ekonomi lokal yang tidak hanya berkelanjutan secara lingkungan, tetapi juga adil, bermanfaat bagi masyarakat beragama di seluruh pelosok penjuru dunia. Amin ya robbal alamin. Kiranya tidak dapat lebih banyak yang kami sampaikan. Inilah kita mengharapkan kepada Tuhan yang Maha Kuasa, kiranya dapat meridhoi terlaksananya kegiatan ini. Dengan bismillahirrahmanirrahim, kegiatan seri 7 tahun ISIBA dan Business Application and Social Science in Economic International Conference dinyatakan dibuka secara resmi. Billahi taufik wal hidayah, lebih dan kurang mohon maaf. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Penjabat Gubernur Sumatera Selatan ditandatangani Ellen Setiadi. Izin Pak Rektor dan para narasumber, sehubungan Pemprov hari ini kedatangan 2 menteri, ada Menteri Dalam Negeri, ada Menteri Pendidikan Dasar. Kami ingin turut menghadiri pengarahan langsung dari beliau, sehingga kami tidak dapat mengikuti kegiatan ini sampai selesai. Salam hormat, mohon maaf. Mudah-mudahan acara dapat berjalan dengan lancar, baik, dan sukses. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Dr. Andes Haji Sutoko, MSI, as the Governor Expert Staff of Economic Finance and Development. Thank you for attending this conference of Ichiba and Sosei 2024. Well, this time, we're going to watch the performance of a traditional dance of the indigenous people of Papua, Saireri region, which is usually known... Okay.
Well, pardon me. The next agenda is signing of MOU with Universitas Bina Dharma and Universitas Muhammadiyah Palembang. Stisi Pol Chandra di muka. Universitas Leo. Well, we will invite the vice rectors of Universitas Bina Dharma, Ibu Dr. Yanti Paswawanti, and then the representative of Universitas Muhammadiyah Palembang, Universitas Serelo, and Stisi Pol Chandra di muka. Please round of applause of signing of the MOU, and then please and we would like to invite Vice Rector of Academic, Mr. M. Isman Herdiansa, PhD, to take picture together.
Please give a big round of applause for signing the MOU between Stisi Pol Chandra di muka, Universitas Muhammadiyah Palembang, and also Universitas Sarelo Lahat. Please be standby because we're going to take picture together. Well, we're still witnessing the signing of MOU between three universities in Palembang, in South Sumatra.
Universitas Muhammadiyah Palembang, Stisi Pol Chandra di muka, and then Universitas Sarelo.
Once more, please give a big round of applause for this MOU signing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, those are all the agenda of the opening of Ichiba and Sosei 2024 today. And then we are going to open the session that we are waiting for is the plenary sessions. And for this first plenary session will be led by Ibu Dr. Rahmasanti Zinaida.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Wah, I can hear you nih. Boleh lebih keras lagi? Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to say thank you very much for all the participants of 7th Ichiba and 3rd Sosei who already come today in this very fruitful conference, and also all the co-hosts from Universitas Muhammadiyah Palembang. Ibu Ayu, terima kasih sudah hadir, thank you very much. From Stisiplo Chandra di Mukas, sudah lanjut ya, baik. Dari Universitas Serelo, terima kasih sudah hadir. Dari Batu Raja, mungkin menyaksikan secara online, mana kameranya, baik. Terima kasih Universitas Batu Raja, lalu juga terima kasih Universitas Bunda Mulia sudah bergabung juga di Zoom sebagai co-host. Lalu ada Universitas Riau yang juga sudah bergabung, terima kasih. Let us start this event for today. Dan saya juga mau menyapa the Head of Research Center, Bapak Kumroni, terima kasih sudah hadir. The Dean of Social and Humanities sudah hadir, Dr. Nuzeb. Dean dari Teknik, Pak Dr. Tata belum hadir? Baik, and all participants, thank you so much for coming. Izin pada hari ini kita akan menyaksikan, we will see the many distinguished speakers from Russia, from China, from Malaysia, and also from Indonesia today. And I would like to invite the keynote speaker for today. Okay, first keynote speaker that I will invite is my dear friend, Dr. Taha Ijab from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Yeah, Dr. Taha is a friend in UKM that always support all the Universitas Bina Dharma students who take a doctoral degree. Good morning, Dr. Taha, please have a seat. And also I would like to invite my dear professor, my senior. Please give an applause for Professor Nurli Gofar from Universitas Bina Dharma. Good morning, Prof. Nurli. Good morning, Prof. How are you today, Prof? Please take a seat. And I also want to introduce the speakers that already in Zoom. The camera, maybe you can take the screen on the Zoom. I will say good morning from Indonesia to Prof. Valery Al-Muzikan from RUDN University, Russia. Good morning from Indonesia, sir. Prof. Valery. Good morning, Prof.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us as a keynote speaker in this conference. And also I would like to say hi to Dr. Ruhana binti Padzil from University Malaya, Malaysia. Good morning from Indonesia, Dr. Ruhana.
Oh, I is not speaking, right?
Yeah, Dr. Ruhana is not here, Zoom. Not ready on Zoom? Okay. And I would like also to say hi to Prof. Frank Feiguo from Zhangnan University of Economic and Law, China. Okay, maybe still. Good morning, Prof. from Indonesia. Thank you so much for being able to be a keynote speaker in this conference. Okay, please giving applause for all keynote speaker Ichiba and Sosei 2024. Izin, Prof, izin. Okay, first of all, I would like to ask Dr. Taha, you need a mic, right? Mic for Dr. Taha, please. The mic. Okay. Dr. Taha, it's been a year, maybe more than a year. We didn't see each other. How are you, Dr. Taha?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much, Dr. Rahma, for inviting.
How's the flight from Malaysia? You need to take 2 flights.
Yeah, connecting flights because there's no direct flight to Palembang these days.
Yeah.
So it's quite a bit tiring.
A bit tiring.
For first
Kind of
timer.
jet lag? A little
Not
bit
really
jet lag?
because the flight time is very fast, very quick.
Okay.
Just the traveling time, the layover, that takes some time. Otherwise, it's good. Very interesting.
Thank you so much, because the weather is good, right?
Yeah.
The weather is good.
It's a bit hot.
A bit
I think
hot.
it's similar like in Malaysia these days.
Similar in Malaysia. Thank you so much, Dr. Taha. How about you, Prof. Nurli? You look so beautiful today. How are you, Prof?
Yeah, I'm fine, Dr. Rahma.
How are you, Prof?
I'm okay today. Very excited to give a talk.
Okay, it's a kind of exciting moment for today, and I would like also to say to all the participants today that we're gonna do this conference in hybrid, online and offline. So we will first let the Prof. Valerie from Russia to opening the first speakers for today. Is it okay, Dr. Prof. Nurli? Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, all the participants in Ichiba and Associate, we will listening about what Prof. Valerie L. Musikan from RUDN University, Russia, about our theme, of course, about humanizing tech for sustainability, re-examine research challenge, and finding common ground from communications perspective. Prof. Valerie, the time is yours. Prof. Valerie, whoa, Prof. Valerie is sleeping. A little bit tired, maybe. Hello, Prof. Valerie. Prof. Valerie from Russia. Prof. Valerie from Russia, from RUDN University. Maybe the committee, can you type from the Zoom to Prof. Valerie? Maybe anyone can, from the committee can help, please? Yeah. Prof. Valerie from Russia. Okay, still waiting for from Prof. Valerie. Okay. Okay, I would like to ask first about the theme, Dr. Taha. You see that the technology right now is become a baseline for any multidiscipline aspect, right? Not only for the technical. Prof. Nurli is from engineering, Dr. Taha is from computer science, myself from communication science. So what technology bring us together? in a research challenge?
Well, in my opinion, technology should make us more human and more humane. And I'll talk more about that in my presentation. But basically, technology is assisting us. We are not the slave of technology. These days, it so happen like we become the slave to the technology, right? From right beginning, wake up in the morning, we pick up our phone.
Yeah.
While we are in the toilet, we are
In the toilet also we use our
Yes,
telephone, right?
all the WhatsApping, all the
Okay.
Facebooking and everything.
Yeah.
Up to the we go back to sleep, and we
Yeah.
still, stuck to the technology. So I think we should be able to control ourselves, not to be the slave of technology, but we need to make use of the technology to facilitate in our productivity in our life for personal and also for professional life.
Yeah, as we know right now, many students, many professor, all the practitioners also use what we call ChatGPT. Yeah, the technology of AI that helps people actually, but somehow there's a negative and positive impact, of course. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'm a heavy user of ChatGPT. And I'll showcase what I did for my research proposal, grant proposal, for my journal papers. It's not like we are depending everything on it, but we somehow to generate ideas because it's a generative AI.
Yeah.
It's used to brainstorm, right? To generate new ideas that we have not thought before. So it gives us fresh look, fresh ideas. Somehow we need to have some control as well in using it, such that we are not plagiarizing.
I see.
Yes, we are not copy and pasting
Yeah.
without any further thought. I think
Okay.
because we are in the academia, we are professionals. We do not want to be caught with copy and pasting,
Yeah.
in the plagiarism field. So I think we need to somehow use it ethically.
I see. How about in engineering, Prof? Engineering also need a kind of technology that very humanizing technology. How about in engineering field, in your opinion?
I think in engineering we have been using technology
Of course,
all
yeah.
along.
Yeah.
From the beginning, and then right now we are using technology more and more for the research.
Okay.
For example,
It's related to the research.
yeah, related to the research. For example, ANN, artificial network,
Artificial network,
is
okay.
very popular,
Yeah.
and it's very useful now. And then GIS, Geographic Information System, we have been using it a lot right now. So there's a lot of, I think we have to.
Oh, thank you so much, Prof. Assalamualaikum. Good morning from Indonesia, Prof. Valerie. Okay,
Let me start.
Okay.
Assalamualaikum Bina Dharma University. Apa
Waalaikumsalam.
kabar?
Alhamdulillah baik, Prof.
Dear colleagues and friends, let me convey the warmest regards from Russia. Though we have deep night right now. Anyway, let me start the discussion aiming to highlight the importance of multidisciplinary approach in addressing global issues. While answering guiding questions, let me present my background related to the topic of resilience, sustainability, artificial intelligence, and innovation. Yesterday, everything seems been circling around the parties, political parties. Today, everything circles around the space of the media, it's understandable. So what was done? What was done by my team? Firstly, we made a number of research, published in different monographs with my Indonesian companions, friends from European Veteran University, Terbuka University, some other places. We have pretty good community at the French University of Russia. You may see here one of my friends, dean of European University, Dr. Becchiestiano, while he's speaking to my university. Our team, people like this. So let me start. Let me start my report. And firstly, what was discovered? We made a number of research and publications in Q1 and Q2, Scopus and Web of Science journals, this mutual team from Indonesia and Russia. And we discovered that so many topics are so interesting for the both countries. And here you can see studies in journals of semiotics, Turkish studies, international relations, as well as journal of sociology, some international conferences in London. We compared Russian Yandex Taxi and Gojek in Indonesia. So our research was pointing out and strong features of artificial intelligence. If you look at the evolution of the platforms, you would see what long distance been, done by us. And I must confess that, in decision making, human input is becoming smaller and smaller. You can see from this diagram. And we discovered that, artificial intelligence is much smarter than human. They're most human. And this information is terrifying actually us, because return on investments of artificial intelligence is always much higher than humans. That is why during our conference at Terbuka University, we just found out that, we have, about Indonesia, we have very good prospects for Indonesia in the future, nearest future. In case some obstacles appear on the way to implementing those best ideas. You see, we also made a research on law practice over the world. You can see that artificial intelligence help us to develop distance learning over the world on almost countries. You see, it means that, immersive learning tech is bringing much good to our society. And if you see the people's, exchange of messages, everybody just, saying that in my experience so far, artificial intelligence models, is better than 90% of well-educated students. It's incredible, for our time. That is why legal tech startups just inspiring us for making many decisions. And of course, there are some dangers, risks, and threats, because of artificial intelligence being implemented in our everyday life. First, if we look at the most vulnerable target audience, because of fakes as a part of artificial intelligence, you see, the people just, at the age of 16, 24, 25, 34, their most vulnerable audience, besides all other target audience, like suppliers, customers, in terms of business. It's happening right now. As we discussed at the International Communications Association with my friend and my colleague, Professor James Bruning, the fundamental goal of public relations is being disrupted by hoaxes and fakes. And if you look, at these four types of target audience, the most dangerous, the most vulnerable one is proactive publics, which are always open for dialogue. That is why they just focus on this special target audience. So trust, control, neutrality, commitment, satisfaction, communal relationships, exchange of relationships, is under great threat. So how do we prepare, especially our children, to be resilient facing massive economic shift due to artificial intelligence? If you look at this most axis, you will see that, creativity and strategy, and, compassion is not broken for artificial intelligence. It's more for human. That is the main threat. And let me continue my research with a very famous and important trend, which, just exactly touches upon the topic of human role in this artificial intelligence implementation. I hope you know this famous book, When Cultures Collide. This triangle is about different types of national cultures. Over here you may see three zones. Red one is about countries of multi-ethnic or people-oriented. Countries which are of great emotions. The blue color about countries of linear ethnic or task-oriented, like Germany, Switzerland, and a number of countries in the yellow zone, it's jet-oriented. Countries with, reactive people. Indonesia, by the way, is the position over here. Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines. So it's something between emotional people and reactive people. What it means for our research? It means that, you have a kind of prerequisites for face experience, because we are a little bit different. And Richard Lewis has been, searching when cultures collide this topic. He just divided the countries in three main, let's say, camps because of that. If you look at the international map, are really so different. You may see that the red map is about countries with people-oriented aims. Countries of yellow and orange, more or less reactive, jet-oriented. And blue is about task-oriented. So we are really different. If you look even at our gestures, it's easy to misinterpret that, because, for Russian, American, Arabic, Chinese, the gestures means some different things, though it's not the most important part of my research, because, especially when this gesture has been implemented in international practice, we can see this difference, how they look in reality. Here you may see since the other former Prime Minister of Japan and Mr. Donald Trump. Donald Trump is saying what? He's saying that, we are staying 100% behind Japan. But because of his gestures, we may see that Zimbabwe dislike those gestures, because for Japanese, it's, it's a very bad manner to show like this, with your feet, with your fingers, with your gestures, before somebody's face. As an expert in karate, black belt expert, I'm saying it's not so good for Japanese. It means that gesture misinterpretation is doing its job in spite of Mr. Trump's, emotions and support like this. Besides that, if you look what's going on right now with Mr. Trump, just touching upon this point, or touching upon the Europe, you can see so many drastic changes right now because of special military operation of Russia. Later on, I will touch upon this point. And we see some results of elections, but we are not about politics. We are talking about the difference between the countries. And first of all, this matrix, I'm sure you know about this, about diplomacy and facts. For some countries, diplomacy are going before facts. For Japanese, for Arab people, for people in Indonesia as well, emotions before facts. For Russian Federation, for Spanish, Italians, French people like this, and facts before diplomacy for task-oriented countries, like Scandinavian countries, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants. So we are really different. Besides it, it's so interesting for our research that information collection process is completely different for those three types of nations. Oriented for individual information, what it means. For Americans and for Brits, for German people, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, they're oriented for individual information. They never ask it directly. Before the conference like ours, they already knew everything about you. They're not getting it close touch with you, because they're collecting information from secondary sources. For countries oriented on dialogue, as for Russia, Spain, Belgium, and also Italy, we are oriented on dialogue. So we just prefer to speak with people directly face to face. and our negotiations or talks may completely change my attitude towards my counterpart and listening cultures, like of course Japan, China, Vietnam, Philippines, Malaysia, of course Indonesia partly. You are listening cultures, so you just listen and then you respond. Besides this, there is a great difference in attitude on style. I'm sure you know about that. Let me just remind you. Linear monochrome countries is quite Anglo-Saxon Protestants. Linear polychronic countries is people-oriented countries. And cyclic type is countries like jet-oriented. And let me just give you this matrix I'm using in my classes, in my research. I'm sure you know this matrix, Bartlett-Goshaw model of international trade. If you are going to enter some countries with your business or your report or your visit, you must know for sure what kind of culture this country will explore. So you must set in certain kind of transnational, global, international, is a multi-domestic culture. You must know how to use weak and strong points of this country. You will ignore them and you will follow those regulations. And that is the prerequisite for our discussion. If I show you next slide, I am sure you've been there, as I have visited this place several times. This is so-called Marco Polo Bridge near Beijing. From my point of view, it was one in this new era, one of the foxes which, spoiled and, investors failed to enter Chinese market. Because of what? This bridge is very famous. Very famous, you can see over here, as Chinese call it, Shizar. In Japanese they call it Sisar. In Vietnam they call it Kong. In Indonesia, Barong. And you see, they are presenting a new car, Toyota Crown. They consider this place as a very famous to present this car. Though they ignored that Second World War was started exactly in this place. And by the way, Chinese people lost about 30 million people. So it was the best place for starting this, presentation of the car, because they are completely ignored. I mean, those people who just was promoted Toyota Prado. They ignored completely national interest, the place where the Second World War started. So it was complete failure. Was it a mistake? No. Let me go on. So far from the next attempt, 20 years later, a new hoax. It's about Dolce & Gabbana company. They intended to have a fashion show in Shanghai. At that time I was working over there. This picture terrified almost all Chinese because they called it a fascist and Nazi. Because, for European it seems nothing. You are using chopsticks for eating pizza. But for Chinese people it was very, irritating to add. You see, especially this one, because Dolce & Gabbana wanted to present this weird, ad and commercial, and Chinese people dislike it because this approach completely ignores, what's going on in China. Okay, but let's talk about Zara. One more example. Was it done deliberately or it was a mistake? There's a lady with friend. It's not a common face for Chinese people, Also, Chinese people dislike this very much, and they rejected completely this promotion of Zara. And finally, this one. Oh, I hope you've seen this, who is this guy. Very famous, right? He is wanted in China, Dalai Lama, but over here he's promoted Mercedes-Daimler company. I worked with this company for a number of years. And I must confess, it's not a mistake, it's a kind of deliberately done. Is it really hoaxes? Not exactly, but it's prerequisite for the topic we are going to discuss for today. We talk about artificial intelligence. So what are the weak points of artificial intelligence? Because, by the way, if you look at this built by Ministry of Economy of Indonesia, We just, must develop basic services, human capital, social, cultural capital. But there are strong obstacles on the way of implementing those good ideas into practice. Besides that, we discussed it at Terbuka University about ranking and SDG index scores of Indonesia, seems to be very good prospects over here in Indonesia, you may see. Just being over here, place number 4. So,
Prof. Valerie?
fakes are making many troubles in the way of implementing good ideas into practice. In my country,
Yeah.
you may see in my country, yeah? Oh, you came here properly, everything is okay?
Everything is okay, Prof. Valerie. Your time is quite 5 minutes more, Prof.
So may I go, right?
Yeah, Prof.
Okay, because I don't hear you properly, sorry, because a heavy storm outside of my window. It's a winter time in my country. We have a special program in my country, it's called anti-fake. Every evening, we start a program of discussing what's wrong with our economy of fakes, what's wrong with our politics because of fakes. So people in the studio discussing those topics, you may ask direct questions. So this program is, is been underway any evening. So recently we had, if you know, probably, we had a special BRICS conference in Russian city of Kazan, And you may see here the leaders of more than 30 countries. And BRICS outreach even more, up to 40 countries. And in my country, such social network as Instagram, as Twitter, and Facebook are forbidden because of fakes. So before those Meta products could, speak directly, but now it's forbidden. If you want to use it in your research, you must put a disclaimer. Recently, a friend of mine, my student from Indonesia, he just defended his thesis under supervision, and we put a number of disclaimers because those social net forbidden in Russia because they are, there's just this person slander and lie. So over here you may see this Meta platform being prohibited in Russia, and during this session they speak directly what's going on BRICS session. So, but the beginning of this happened not so long ago. Recently, if you look at the battle of Raqqa, you may see, how it was, covered by media. Here you may see that rebels, they're celebrating that Raqqa is being free. But over here, from other point of view, not from CNN, but from Russia Today, that Raqqa completely ruined. What it means? We have different stories, yeah? And so it was the very beginning of contemporary fakes, which are, because of velocity, dispersed over the world, especially during COVID time. If you now look at the Middle East, you can see how it works. About Israel aggression, about Lebanon, Gaza footings. We may see, what's going on over there, but no information we can reach. If you want to know something about Middle East. You see, what's actually happened? If you compare picture from printed media and from the screen, we may see that, digital data is hard to process for our brain. Physical print, are easier for our brains to process than digital. So in digital screen, I may, display anything I like. So firstly, the very first fake of our days is an example of beginning of COVID-19 in Moscow. Those fakes about lives which are appearing. Okay, sir. Yes. So no, that's okay. So you may see that lines. I have been walking on Moscow streets, and my students from Africa asked me, "Dear professor, is it really? Notice what was a fake because those lines came from South African Republic, from Johannesburg, So I want to stress once again that, you know, this is really a dangerous point. And you know, what is to be done? If you look at the scale of fakes, you may divide them in seven columns and 7 groups, starting from something which is not so dangerous with a long arm, like satire and parody, up to the fabricated content. So fabricated content is the most dangerous one. You may ask me, satire and parody, what's wrong with this? You know, if I show you those wooden dolls called Matryoshka in Russia, you know, I found it out in Dubai. It's kind of, you know, a joke, but when you look at those jokes, step by step, you are becoming not respect, you know, those people which are being, you know, placed on those Matryoshka. Or this picture, if you look at the most candidate from Democratic and Republican Party, step by step, you will not, like them. But the first man who just started this first distribute fakes around the world was Mr. Trump. He just published this picture, you know, with a quote, as if Pope Francis, you know, supports his residents. That was the very beginning of fakes. Then, step by step, you know, you could see the manipulations of huge harm. See how it works with fake news when it is seriously fabricated. The real picture like this is about Antifa, people who stand against fascism. But in reality, someone has put a picture of this, as if Antifa people just trying to beat the policeman. It's completely fabricated. This is original picture on the right side. This was been fabricated. How can you differ between them? Not so easy. So if you look at the map of the international world, you may see that some countries, you know, very, very concerned about fakes, like United States, like Latin America, like those countries. But in some countries, fakes been put under control, in Russian Federation as well. And you see, that is why let me just present what we've done, especially for Indonesia. With my student now, he's young professor of European University, we just studied the fakes in Indonesia, how to spread during COVID. It was our first way of research. What we found out? We found out, you know, that actually, first of all, we took all parts of Indonesia. All Indonesia with gender, age, education, and studies. We found out that fake news, you know, is not clear for 66 of respondents in Indonesia. It's a very high number. Then we found out that half of respondents in fact-checking, just making fact-checking via Google. But Google is a great lie. That's why, you know, verifying, you know, facts via Google is not the best idea. And almost 90% find boxes very annoying, no one. Then, you know, we found out that what was the topics of distribution of boxes? Government and politics, no wonder as well. Then, you know, half of respondents' answer was those boxes created for shaping public opinion. So people seem to understand what's going on with fakes. And here you may see, but people who just receive fakes, they're keeping quiet. Every second person is not discussing. So what's going on? What's happening? What's happening actually, yeah? It's happening that you see, I'm just almost completing my report, you know. I'm almost completing my report that media like Twitter, like Facebook and WhatsApp, you know, they are the most distorted persons of those fakes. So we are living in a post-truth era. During truth era, there was the idea, I think, therefore I am. In post-truth era, I believe, therefore I am right. That's the main idea. So, concluding my speech, what do we expect? What do we expect? In second way of research, we just, you know, wanted to know what Indonesian people think about Russian special military operations. And we, you know, made a distributed questionnaire and found out that in Indonesia, a number of organizations which are taking care of fakes. If fake is appearing, you know, then disclaimer appears. So it's been taken care of. If fake like that appearing, you know, almost, you know, very quickly, you know, disclaimer appearance once again. So I want to emphasize that in a country like yours, people just, taking care of fakes more or less is more fit to another organization. So the main conclusion of our research, the illusion of choice. 6 media giant companies, they are ruling all over the world. 90% of information coming from them. It's a very important conclusion. That's why my last slide about the conference we held in Kazan about big countries. Big countries may be the only way to counter fakes. Besides all other terrible things we are facing. Even General Secretary, Mr. Gutierrez, visited that place. Really the formula for a future just order was written in Kazan, where all participants have a role, and the Greek outreach formula has nothing to do with international bureaucracy, because it was created not instead of UN. That is why it was a great interest to UN General Secretary Mr. Gutierrez. At the end, we are in progress with my Indonesian colleagues to publish 3 articles, Focus 1, Focus 2, about climate change in Indonesia in newspapers. You may see it here on this slide. So my team is conveyed very, very warm feelings, to you. Thank you very much for being with me, and me with you. Thank you so much. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih. Thank you so much, Prof. Valery from UDN Russia. There's so many communications people in this room here, communication student and also lecturers, practitioners. Please keep the questions later because there's a session specific for questions for Prof. Valery. Thank you so much, Prof. Valery. And then we will continue to the next keynote speaker for today, and now is the offline session. The keynote speaker, Dr. Taha, is already here. The slide is ready. Okay. Please give a questions because we have a lot of present, and then to give to all the participants. Please send us the questions. You can send us also in the WhatsApp group if you want to ask the questions. Please text now, and then I will read after Dr. Taha's session. Dr. Taha, the time is yours.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everybody. First of all, thank you to the organizing committee, Dr. Zaid Amin, Dr. Rahma, Prof. Ilman, Prof. Ahmad, Prof. Isna, Prof. Yanti, and my friends. And it seems like I'm coming home because so many familiar faces and a warm environment here, right? So, and I was taken by the morning dance, just now the welcoming dance, the Tari Tanggai, I think. Yeah, it's very mesmerizing, and music is very captivating, and I'm very familiar with the music,
It's a Sriwijaya music.
Yes,
maybe you ever heard about Sriwijaya, right?
In Malaysia, we have this kind of song as well.
I see.
It's called Tanjung Putri.
Tari Tanjung Putri.
Tanjung Putri.
I
Yes.
see.
The song is very similar, and I was like, I've heard this. So I think it's very, very interesting.
Maybe someday we can exchange cultures by dancing.
Yes.
Tari Tanggai with tari.
Yeah, Tanjung Putri.
Tanjung Putri.
Sometimes we call it also Tambak Johor because it's a quite historical song of connecting Singapore. Last time it's called Temasek with Johor in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So it's very historical, and I also believe that Palembang is a very historical place.
Of course.
The birth of Malacca, birth of Singapore, is come from here, the root of it. So we are sharing the same roots basically. Okay. Without further ado, today I'm going to talk about this topic, humanizing technology for sustainability, because I believe it's the theme of the conference. And my My discussion will talk about the humanizing technology for sustainability in general context, and I'll talk about it in terms of healthy aging, because that's the focus of our research in UKM, in particular our research group, the Interaksi Research Group, right? The next slide, please. Yeah, you know that's not me, but perhaps a bit similar to me. Right, this is just a brief background about me. My qualifications, I graduated in Business Information System from RMIT University. Prior to that, my master's in Computer Science from University of Malaya. And I've worked in industry before and also in the academic industry for quite several years in telecom research and development. And my research interest, as you can see there, on social, environmental, and health informatics. And you can scan my details and my paper publications from the Google Scholar and our portal, UKM Sarjana. And currently, I'm also a certified ESG trainer, because these days, ESG is a very important thing. Many countries are taking up the environmental, social, and governance in measuring their carbon footprints, in how their operations, especially in the manufacturing sector, are not using free labor or forced labor, right? So ESG audit is very important these days, and it becomes the top of the top of line in terms of the governance in many countries, especially in Asia. Right? Next. Okay, here. Why technology actually makes us more human and more humane? Add to this discussion. Right? There are several ways how technology actually makes us more human. Next. Okay, one is technology forces connection and communities. We know that we are social creatures, right? We don't live on an island, or we don't live alone, right? So we need to connect, we need to belong, we need to feel we are part of something bigger, right? Like we have a lot of technologies these days to connect us with one another, with family and friends, with long last, perhaps ex-boyfriends, ex-girlfriends, so through social technologies. Next, if you can see here on the Facebook, for example, we have our own contacts, and they also have the groups or the communities that we belong to, and also the suggestion, right? Sometimes, you know, the names came up to us, and we have never heard of this name for many years probably, right? And by this kind of suggestion from the technology, it is making us more human. It reminds us of our history, reminds us of our perhaps childhood, right? Sometimes our friends from we are, you know, 6 or 7 years old, suddenly the name came up, so we can connect back with them, right? So it makes us more human, more social in that sense, yeah? Next. Technology also lets us focus on the human touch, especially these days, like Professor Valerie talked about the AI, right? AI is everywhere. It's I think in the past few years, it is Industrial Revolution 4.0, the IR 4.0, which consists of data analytics, certainly AI, IoT, but these days, AI is taking the center stage. So we can say that the exponential growth in automation, AI, and machine learning is here taking place, right? So a lot of roles can be automated, but what will happen if a lot of jobs is being automated? Are we going to be out of job, right? So actually, in my opinion, technology is going to help us to be more creative, right? To be more to have more intuition in our conceptual thinking, and to have more compassion. I'm going to talk about how technology help us here in this part is about the automation. Okay, Actually, there's recently Sumitomo research proposal which due on the 31st of October, just a few days ago, right? Oh, yesterday, it just closed yesterday, right? I think many researchers around Asia are applying for this Sumitomo grant from Japan, right? I have been thinking about many ideas of what to do for this research proposal. Right? There are so many ideas on social sciences, on humanities, on this particular topic, on how Japan and other countries, especially Malaysia, Indonesia, for example, right, can collaborate in this kind of research. So the original idea is from TikTok. My watch actually watched a TikTok video, and she told me about this one particular phenomenon or one particular topic, right? And the technology helped me in some form in doing the research. Right, next. Okay, in Japan, there is this kind of roads called melody roads, right? When you drive on it, you'll produce some songs, right? Whether it's folk songs, traditional songs, maybe the music is Tari Tanggai just now, right, while we are driving. It's very interesting, and in my experience and my knowledge, there's none of such road in Malaysia or even in Singapore, or I'm not sure whether there are some roads in Indonesia on these melody roads, right? So there's some engineering to it. There are some aesthetic to it. There's some safety, road safety. There are some a lot of research can be done on this particular topic, right? Next. So this part of my research proposal, where I need to summarize the idea, right? This research, I intend to examine the potential of implementing melody roads in Malaysia by analyzing the effectiveness in Japan for the purpose of enhancing road safety and promoting tourism. There are two areas that I want to address. So the bottom part, I need to provide the translation, the Japanese translation, to the organizer, the Sumitomo organizer. So I use ChatGPT, certainly, to produce the summary in Japanese. All right, next. Right, this one, I use ChatGPT to produce the preliminary translation, right? And then next, I use another tool, another ChatGPT tool, next, called DeepL. So this one, you can see that I'll try to improve on the research summary without having to find any Japanese speaker, right? In the past, I contacted my students, our students from the institute who are Japanese speaker, and asked them to help translate this kind of translation. But these days, using ChatGPT, using other tools like DeepL, we can produce, I can say, almost 99% of accuracy of translation, such that we don't have to have actual human translator. So that's where the automation part, where AI replaces jobs, right? For creative people, like using Midjourney, using Copilot, and many other AI tools these days, we can replace. I'm sorry to the creative people out there who are in the graphic design, for example, right? You need to have one step, higher knowledge probably, because AI these days can replace this kind of job, creative job, because AI can produce so many ideas, so many graphics, infographic within minutes, whereby if we ask for a certain media house, for example, it takes them maybe 1 week to produce only one promotional campaign, for example. But for using AI, you can produce so many ideas and you can choose one, so we can replace all this kind of previously what we use so many people or so much budget in doing this. All right, next. Next is on the how humans augment smart technology and vice versa. Here, if you go to the next slide, I think these days, next slide please. Okay, these days, I think many of us are wearing wearables, right? Either it's smartwatch, Huawei watch, or all kind of other watches. And it gives us this kind of notification, right? It augments our need to go to the doctors, for example, for the preliminary kind of notification. In January 2024, it gave me an indication that I have a low walking steadiness, maybe due to age, right? When we are age, as we grow older, right, our walking steadiness is low. So here you can see that it says that it's low and you may have an increased risk of falling in the next 12 months. So from January up to now, I'm a bit careful when I'm walking, because the wearable has given me some indication that I may fall in the next 12 months. So I have not yet fallen, but I'm afraid in the next, now it's October, we have November and December. But certainly they give some solution or prescribe some ideas. It says you may be able to improve your walking steadiness with certain exercises that focus on balance and strength. So here is how technology is humanizing us, reminding us to be human, to take care of ourselves, right? Because we know that as we age, our health functions start to deteriorate, right? Next. Okay, technology also has human characteristics, right? For example, for my traveling to Palembang, I have to take 4 carriers. Yesterday I came by Transnusa and Citylink, and then when I go back on Sunday, I'll be taking Garuda and Asia. So 4 different flights. So there are some arrangement that I need to do, like extra baggage. I need to handle some extra baggage because I bought a little less, right? So it's a bit difficult to talk to people. So I use chatbot. These days, a lot of things, a lot of services, whether it's banks or government services, they have chatbot. For example, I use that chatbot for Asia from the Move app. It's called Chat with Bo, right? From here, I was asking for certain requests, right? Actually, I want to add some baggage, right? And after some pages, and then after putting in some booking numbers and other details, and it turned up with, it says it's only available during office hours, 6 a.m. until 10:30 p.m. So I was doing this at 1:45 a.m. this morning, so I cannot proceed further with the request. So there's some limiting of the technology. Somehow it helps us in our lives in conducting queries, right? So these are the kind of technologies that has some human characteristic in helping us understanding our needs and anticipating the kind of services that we want from the service provider. Right? And I think more and more these days we are using this kind of services in our daily life. So yeah, next. The final one is how technology creates better human experiences. So it should be personal and relevant. Next. As you can see, this is my first time coming to Palembang. I've been reading, because we have students from Palembang, a number of them. So I'm quite familiar with the name of Palembang. And of course, I've never set foot to Palembang. But with technology such as Google Maps, I can see from the satellite imagery, this kind of, Palembang is famous with Jambatan Ampera, right? And how it looks like. Of course, there are YouTube videos. There are so many YouTube videos talking about Jambatan Ampera. But how for me to navigate from the hotel, for example, Arya Duta to Jabatan Ampera. Right, next. So you can see here using the functions like the green person out there, I can do on the Google Street. Right, navigating Palembang without setting foot here. But as I come here, I intend to explore this myself as well, right? So we know that we can see that with technology, it helps us in exploring certain countries, certain places that we've never been before, and we can anticipate what's out there, right? So technology is basically help us in making us more human. Okay, next. Now, I'll go back to on how technology is humanizing for elderly care. I think from my observation here, how many of you are age less than 20? Anyone age less than 20? No, I think quite a number of us are age 20 and above. And probably like myself, I'm approaching 50 over, right? We are growing older every day. So we need to take care of our health. We need to anticipate that if we live longer than, let's say, normal life, maybe 60, 65, 70 years old, they're extra bonus for us. But as we grow older, we'll start to fall sick and whatnot, right? So we need technology to help us in taking care of ourselves and also for the elderly. 5 more minutes. Okay, 5 more minutes. Okay, sure, no worries. Next. We can see that in Malaysia and also in Indonesia, the society are becoming aged. Meaning that in Malaysia and Indonesia, we are about 10 to 12% of the society are aged people who are aged 60 and above, right? Next. Here in the data from Indonesia, the elderly account for almost 12% of the Indonesian population these days. Right? So Indonesia itself is now starting to enter an era of aging population. Right? Next. And as a song says, this one is from a creative composer from Indonesia, Budi Santoso. He wrote the song "We Are Not Forever Young." It's a very good song. You can go to the YouTube and just released like last week. Right? It's an Indonesian song. It's an English song, but written by the Indonesian composer. We Are Not Forever Young. You can take a look into this YouTube video. It's very interesting, and it reminds us that we are not forever young. Right? Next. So what will happen then? And also relating it to the United Nations SDG, right? Now, these days, 2021 up to 2030, it is called the age of healthy aging. So the leadership of the world, they are basically looking at how technology can help people in age more healthier, right? With the assistance of technology. Next. I think I need to go very fast. This one, you can see that the healthy aging, looking at the third SDG goal, which is the good health and well-being, for us to ensure our healthy life and promote well-being for all ages. You can see there all the other surrounding SDG goals. Next. This is what it is, the UN Decade of Healthy Aging. Next. Yeah, when we are old, there are some people who tend to get serious sickness and they need to go into palliative care to be warded, to be assisted at all times. So we need digital technology. Next. And next, please. So the research problem here, because our research or conference on ISIBA looking at what are the research problems that we can discuss about the topics that of interest. For example, here on the healthy aging, we're looking at the isolation and loneliness. We're looking at the meaningful conversation and making decision making. Right? How technologies can make all of this. Next. Next, please. So these are some literature review that you can go and read as well. And there are a lot of technologies that is actually helping us in taking care of the people who are suffering. Next, I just want to go into the final one. Next. Yeah, we are looking into the case studies here back in UKM. We have what we call as Selesa Lab, a lab for elderly. We are looking at cases on how elderly beating loneliness and isolation. Next, with the technologies. Next, these are the technologies that are available these days for us, like Videocom, social media, telehealth services, interactive entertainment apps, online communities, and support groups. Next. This one for meaningful conversation, right? Because they are lonely, but they still need to talk to one another. They need to talk to their family members, to their loved one, right? Next. So technologies, all those technologies like storytelling before they are gone, right? So we need to capture all their experiences, all their knowledge, for example. Using all these emotional affordances kind of assistant on user-friendly design, accessibility features, privacy and security, interactivity, emotional support features. Next, the next case study is on how to empower critical decision making. Next, those are the technologies and emotional affordances. This kind of research on human-computer interaction is what me, myself, and our previous student like Dr. Sobri, Dr. Widianto are looking into this kind of research. Okay, next. Okay, I'll just skip to the final one. Next. 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 This one. Okay, this is the conceptual framework that we are devising on how the case studies, isolation and loneliness, meaningful conversation, decision making, how it can be helped or facilitated with all the technologies that is making us more human, right? By enabling user friendliness, ease of use, user-centered, personalization, accessibility, connectivity, without discounting on the privacy and security issues, and also the patient education. And of course, on the outliers, we're looking at the SDG goal on the no poverty, good health and well-being, and also to reduce inequalities. Where when we look into the perspective of how technology is being used is as holistic care, technology as a catalyst, and also enhancing digital and autonomy. And I think with that, I thank you. I'll pass it back to Dr. Rahma. Thank you.
Please give an applause for Dr. Taha Ijab from University Kebangsaan Malaysia. Thank you so much, Dr. Taha. Your presentation is very related also to my research about digital loneliness in social media. So we have a kind of a research group, multidisciplinary research group that collaborate to see how the social media influence the digital loneliness. Some bullying, okay? For the teenagers, some bullying, and then of course the elderly, of course, they have some loneliness in social media. That's very interesting, Dr. Taha. Thank you so much. I also got a lot of questions in WhatsApp group. So nice to see that many questions, but somehow I will keep the question first. But I want to go down first. It's okay if I leave you alone here, Dr. Taha. I want to go down first, and then I will ask several participants, because I want to give a souvenir from Universitas Bina Dharma. Can the committee please help me? Yeah, I want to ask the participant in here, how is social media affect your happiness? Okay, one participant, two participants, okay? How is social media affect your happiness? Kira-kira social media mempengaruhi tingkat kebahagiaan teman-teman atau enggak? Nah, bahasa Indonesianya kayak gitu. Okay, the souvenir, please give the souvenir here, and then I will langsung memberikan nih. I will give directly to the participant. Please raise your hand. Good morning. Such a beautiful girl. Good morning. What's your name?
Yes. Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. All right. Hello, everyone. Hello. Yes, for me, how social media affect me so much because actually I want to introduce myself first. My name is Elsa Melanie Aquina from Communications. So when they asked me about how effective social media improving me a lot, yes, it's improved me a lot because every day when I wake up, I open my social media, like I found a delicious food, and then a beautiful view, and actually every day I working on social media itself for my YouTube channel, my Instagram, my TikTok, and it brings a lot of benefits for me and also profitable. I think social media can bring me happiness. And also there is someone said that, apakah uang bisa membeli kebahagiaan? Yes, kalau nggak bisa berarti masih dikit. Gitu aja.
Thank you so much. You're kind of a celebgram maybe in Instagram. Dr. Taha, see that social media can affect the happiness. One more. Okay. What's your name?
Okay, thank you for the opportunity, ma'am. Before I want to answer it, I have to introduce myself. I am Putri Nabila Sari. My program study is accounting, and then I'm stratum 1. Okay, I want to answer about the social media give the happiness for us. So, of course, because social media, this is the digitalization era or globalization. So I can access, there are a lot of people suddenly, but the other country. So I can explore, and then I have to show what about myself, and then I have to create as a content creator, and then give the job for me, and then there are a lot of opportunity for myself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Please give an applause for, what's your name again? Sorry?
Bila.
Bila, thank you so much. Okay, I also already see your face, Prof. Fei Guo from Zhengnan University. How are you, Prof? The sound is not there yet. Committee, please. Okay, we still hearing for the sound. Okay, Prof. Okay, while the committee is still working on the voice, I will ask one question. Hi, how are you? What's your name, sir?
Oh, my name is Hendra. I'm from Palembang. Sisipol Chandra di Muka.
What is social media you usually use in your daily activity?
Social media, Instagram, and TikTok. Yes, saya sangat gembira karena sosial media tersebut ada bagian yang membahagiakan saya gitu. Iya, ada hiburan, ada intinya adalah sosial media membuat saya bahagia. Gitu. Iya, terima kasih.
How about you, sir? Good morning. What's your name?
My name is Stephen. I'm from Stisipol Chandra di Muka, Master Program. For my daily uses, I use TikTok, Instagram, and also sometimes Facebook. For the most like, I would like use Instagram because Instagram there is called small reels, and TikTok also has reels that under 1 minute that makes us easy to look at the video and then choose whatever we like. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We already connected with Prof. Fei Guo. Okay, we're still waiting. Okay, we still trying to reach Prof. Fei Guo from China because in China they don't use Zoom meeting, so we need to use a VoV meeting, and we still adapt to the VoV meeting. But somehow the committee is still working on it. While the committee is working on it, I'm trying to give another souvenirs. I will go to back there. Okay, good morning. Good morning, sir. May I know your name?
My name is Agung Perdana.
Okay, what exactly social media you use for your daily activity?
My activity, I use social media, Instagram, TikTok, and then Twitter.
Which one you most like?
TikTok. Ya. Banyak informasi yang bisa didapat.
Okay. We still learning the VoV meeting with Prof. Fei Guo. Good morning, Prof. From Indonesia.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clearly, Prof.
But I don't know why I cannot share my screen, cannot share my presentation.
Okay, we're still working on it. The committee is still working on it. Please wait for a second, sir.
Okay, cool.
Okay, Prof, how is the weather in China today?
Yeah, it's actually quite good. It's kind of sunny, Although it's in November, but it's still warm, Yeah, I'm actually wearing
Yeah. Yeah, it's same in here in Palembang, Prof. We have an extreme weather today. It's very hot, but unfortunately, sometimes rain is coming, but sometimes it's not.
Yeah, I can understand. It's Indonesia.
Okay. How is the presentation slide, the committee? Is it already good?
Okay, now I can share. Now I can share my presentation. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys can see.
Okay, we can see your slide, sir. The time is yours. Okay, the time is yours, Prof.
Okay. Should I start now?
Yes?
Okay, cool. It's my pleasure, to present this conference, Before I start, sorry?
Yeah, you can continue, sirs, on your presentation.
Okay, yeah. Before I start my speech, I want to clarify, I'm actually with Zhongnan University of Economics and Law. Not the Zhongnan University, because we actually have a university named Zhongnan University in China, So, it's Zhongnan University of Economics and Law. My topic is foreign currency debt and balance sheet discussion. Evidence of China's real estate sector. I think some of you guys may be familiar with the negative role of foreign currency debt, especially when we eased first Asian financial crisis happened about 25 years ago. Okay. So because of this extensive use of foreign currency debt in emerging markets, not only in China, also in some other countries, for example, Indonesia or Thailand, or some other Southeastern Asian countries. So it's wrong. Okay, how does this foreign currency debt affect our economy, affect companies? It's worse. It's worse. A deep leak. Okay. This study. Okay, this study we talk about how real estate companies in China, how the use of foreign currency debt by those firms affect we use a word called the balance sheet recession. Okay, because when you have this foreign currency debt, okay, so it will affect, especially with local currency. Okay, when your home currency depreciates, this foreign currency debt will pose a threat to the health of your balance sheet. Okay. Okay. This we call the balance sheet recession. Okay. Let's have a look at it because of the time limit. Okay. I will skip some PowerPoints. Let's go directly to this that's called the logic of a balance sheet recession. Let's have a look here. Okay. You guys, especially if you have some accounting background, we know that assets equal to debt plus equity. Okay, so the debt side, okay, the debt side, we can have some problem with the asset side. Okay, for example, the sudden drop. Okay, sudden drop in the value of the assets. That's what we call the traditional balance sheet recession. Okay. But on the debt side, we can also have some problem, especially when you have this foreign currency debt, or if you have the variable rate debt. Okay, for example, the variable rate debt, when the benchmark interest rate increases, your debt burden will increase. For the foreign currency debt, when your local currency depreciates, okay, so you need more local currency to repay the interest and the principles of foreign currency debt. So it will cause some financial the firms will incur more financial expenses, or it will cause so-called foreign exchange losses on your income statement. Okay. So in China, actually, foreign currency debt. We have this. Only a few industries. Okay, only a few industries use foreign currency debt. Real estate sector is one of those industries. Okay, so this study is based on the real estate firms listed on two stock exchanges in China. Also, a few real estate firms listed in Hong Kong Stock Exchange. So we include all those firms, okay? But we delete some firms if their revenue, if 50% of their revenue, less than 50% of the revenue is not coming from mainland China. Okay, so although some firms may list in Hong Kong Stock Exchange, but we only include samples whose revenue, 50% of revenue or more, okay, is from mainland China. So we want to check, okay, how foreign currency debt affects those firms, affects the investments of those developers, okay, developers. The reason is in the real estate sector in China, many firms use foreign currency debt because of this, restriction on local finance, on Chinese yuan bank loans or the bonds, because of regulation. The central bank and the other, the regulators, they impose some restrictions on real estate firms to borrow money or to issue bond in Chinese yuan. So this kind of regulation forces these firms to borrow US dollars mainly, okay? Although there are some other foreign currency debts, okay? But the US dollar mainly from the so-called euro dollar market. So we want to check the so-called balance sheet effect. The reason is because although when Chinese yuan depreciates, okay, there are, we call it two channels. This depreciation will affect the firms in two ways. One way we call it the competitiveness effect, okay? But in terms of our sample, okay, because our sample, we focus on real estate firms. So real estate firms, they don't have the so-called exports, okay? The competitiveness effect means that if you are an exporter, okay? So when local currency depreciates, it will enhance your exports to your foreign clients, okay? But real estate companies, they don't have this channel, okay? They don't have this channel. The reason is we choose the developers as our sample. One reason is because we want to separate this so-called competitiveness effect from the balance sheet effect. If your samples, for example, are some kind of mixed samples, okay, in that case, the competitiveness effect and the balance sheet effect may be, tangled, okay, tangled. So it's very hard to figure out which effect will dominate in a sample. So that's why we want to talk about more. We want to use this real estate samples. Okay. This one is about the background. It's like the PBRC, the Central Bank of China, also the China Securities Regulatory Commission, SRC, and some other, like the State Administration for Exchange. Okay? Quite a lot of the regulators, okay, they issue the regulatory documents that restrict the investment, lending of money from the commercial banks, So it's especially the PBRC introduced the most stringent rules on capital monitoring and financing limitation, okay, for real estate firms in 2020. We call it the 3 red lines. These 3 red lines greatly restrict local developers to borrow money from local banks, okay? Local banks. Let's have a look at how the breakdown of dollar bonds issued by Chinese real estate firms, okay? We can have a look at the coupon rates, okay? So overall, the coupon rate is quite high. For example, some coupon rates are as high as 8% or even more, okay? Even more. We can have a look at the interest rate decrease, okay? Also, the China, the interest rate is lower. Before 2020, okay? Before 2020, Chinese Chinese interest rate is lower, okay? Is lower. But after 2020, actually the US dollar, the US interest rate is higher. But before that, because of a series of regulations, Chinese developers are forced to borrow quite a lot of the US dollar bonds, issue US dollar bonds. So when the interest, when US dollar appreciates against the Chinese yuan, so this caused some huge, we call it, we can say the financial distress, okay, for Chinese developers, okay, for Chinese developers. Okay. We can also see the number here, okay, see the issue, the principal, actually, the notional amount, okay, the figure 5, figure 5. You can see the time tree, okay, a time tree starting from 2016, okay, especially 2017, okay, we see the US dollar bond issue increased quite a lot, increased significantly. Okay, like I said before, okay, we have this competitiveness effect and the balance sheet effect because the uniqueness of our sample, okay, these firms only borrow US dollar debt without export, because for real estate developers you cannot export anything, okay. So there's no trade channel here, okay. Only we focus on the so-called financing or financial channel, and specifically is the role of foreign currency debt on investment of local developers when Chinese yuan depreciates, okay, depreciates against US dollars. Okay, this is about the maturity of various bonds issued by Chinese developers. Okay. So our hypothesis is that when Chinese yuan RMB depreciates, okay, real estate firms with foreign currency debt will have lower investments. Okay. So this is about the model we are using. Okay. Remember the investment actually in developers is actually quite different from the from other firms. Okay. Other firms investments actually you can get data from the cash flow statement, or you can just use the difference between the capital or so-called long-term assets, okay, or capital investments. But for developers, okay, we need to figure out, for example, how much money is used on buying the land, okay, buying the land, okay. That's the investment, mainly the main investment for developers, okay. Okay. So we have this dependent variable, independent variable. Independent variable, we focus on the ratio of forecast debt, okay, at the beginning of the period after converting it into RMB, okay, to the total assets, total assets. Then we have this delta. We have this difference between the interest rate. Okay, we use this one to measure how US dollar change against Chinese yuan. So then we we use this interaction. Okay, interaction so-called foreign debt times the change of log exchange rate. Okay, this is a list of variable description. Okay, of course we need to control other variables. Okay.
Prof. Feiguo.
Okay. To save time, I just skip this one. Okay.
Okay, Prof. Thank you.
Mean results. Okay, we focus on the interaction. Okay, we focus on the interaction, but at the same time, we include the so-called foreign assets, because foreign assets can be used as natural hedge for foreign debt. So we control we include the foreign assets to control the effect of the foreign assets. Let's see very clearly, this interaction pattern, okay, has a negative impact on firm investment, okay? Okay.
Hello, Prof. Fei. Prof. Feiguo, is there something wrong with the presentation? Okay, maybe there's something technological problems, because with the VOV meeting we still adapt about the technological things. Ibu Dr. Mega, maybe you can help to contact Dr. Prof. Feiguo, maybe. Okay, thank you so much. And then we will also prepare for the next keynote speakers while waiting for Prof. Feiguo. But somehow I want to ask again about the technological thing in now age. We have another souvenirs. Okay, thank you so much. I will ask to the in the back. Okay, please let me know if the Prof. Feiguo is already there. Yeah. Okay. I will ask to. Hi. How are you? Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So, what kind of technology you use for your daily activity, especially in your job?
Thank you, Ma'am Rahma. On my daily activities, I'm using my laptop and also for the mobile phone to using the application. We have one is called name that Kooyo. Kooyo. That's the application for the partners in my company to reach the connection with the company OYO. That's it.
So it means that the technology also used for your office working, and then what kind of business that your company is running?
Our company running for the hospitality management. Sir.
So for the hotel industries, right? Thank you so much. What's your name again?
My name is Irdiansa.
Okay, Mas Irdiansa, thank you so much. Already we connected with Prof. Feigo. Okay, so we're still waiting, and then after that, okay. I also want to thank all the sponsors for today. We got a very honorable moment that many sponsors is support us. Telkom for the internet connections, and then Media Sriwijaya, thank you so much for all these souvenirs. Yeah, Amanda Brownies, if you wanna bring home a great cookies, you can go to Amanda. Already? Hi, Prof. Yeah, the connection things, Prof. Okay. About
this meeting, this company, okay?
About 3 minutes more, Prof. Okay.
I just want to raise the issue of the use of carbon okay? Not only in China, but also in Indonesia.
Okay. Something wrong? Maybe that's the end of presentation from Prof. Feigo, right? Okay. I'm very honored to invite the next keynote speaker. Is it already finished? From Prof. Feigo? There's a session for question and answer session. Next from all the participants to the keynote speaker. Is it okay if we continue to the next keynote speaker? Okay? Okay, because the signal in China, the networking in China is not quite good. So I'm proudly to announce our next keynote speaker. Please give applause for our professor, guys. Prof. Nurli Gofar. Where have you been, Prof? I'm alone at there. Okay. Yeah, it's not quite good because we're still in the stage. Okay, Prof. Nurli. Prof. Nurli is quite late, the latest professor in Bina Dharma, yeah? The newest professor in Bina Dharma before Prof. Edi. So, Prof. Nurli Gofar is the professor in Civil Engineering Department, Universitas Bina Dharma. We already see the presentation. Okay, Prof, the time is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Rahma Santi. Actually, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Actually, this is the first time I give a talk on conference like this is a lot of different background knowledge. Yeah. Usually I just go to geotechnical engineering conference. This is a new thing for me, new experience.
New experience.
Yeah. And also, when I was asked by Dr. Zaid to give this presentation, it's not, it's maybe about less than 1 month ago. It's okay. Less than one month ago, so I just choose a topic that is maybe, maybe is general enough, so that I can give a presentation that interesting to all of the audience. Yeah, hopefully my presentation will be as interesting as Dr. Taha.
Dr. Taha, still go on the bathroom.
Oh, okay. Okay. Can I ask you a question? How many of you here is in the background of engineering?
In engineering,
only a few. So I hope my topic will be interesting to you and also to the other audience. Okay, the topic I choose here is impact of climate change on increasing the precipitation and slope instability. I chose this topic because nowadays we experience heat waves. Yeah, we experience a very extreme weather in South Sumatra. Yeah, we have a heat wave. A few weeks ago, we have a very hot morning, and then later on in the afternoon, we have rainfall. And now, I think for 1 week, we don't have rainfall at all.
It's very extreme.
Yeah, it's very extreme. I think up to 38 degrees. So I hope this is an interesting topic for us to see. And then, I choose this topic because it's related to my research. My research is focused on the slope instability induced by rainfall. So the title is the impact of climate change on increasing precipitation, meaning rainfall, on the slope instability. Okay. I'm from Slope Research Group in Universitas Bina Dharma. So we are related to the RPM. Okay. Next. Okay, let me here the moderator does not introduce us, yeah?
Yeah, because
so
everyone is already knew who's Prof. Nurli, but somehow this is the CV.
So like Dr. Taha, I will just introduce myself. Yeah, I have my first degree from Unsri. Yeah, in 1986, long time ago, and then have my Master of Science in Civil Engineering from Purdue University in 1989, and then PhD from the same university in 1994. Currently, I'm a professor in Civil Engineering at the Universitas Bina Dharma, Palembang, since last year. Yeah, before that I was a senior lector kepala. Before that, I was working for 4 years as a senior researcher at the School of Civil Engineering and Environmental Engineering in Nanyang Technological University, where I do a lot of research on the topic of unsaturated soil mechanics and rainfall-induced slope instability. I was for 1 year working in the Global Mandiri University. Maybe any of you from that university? No one, yeah. Okay. And then before that, for 9 years, I was the associate professor at Malaysia, UTM. Yeah. And then before that, I was a senior lecturer at Unsri, Palembang. So I spent a lot of time working in the academic environmental, but I work also as in the industry, so I have a competency as a level one, the highest level in the LSP Hati, Himpunan Ahli Teknik Tanah Indonesia. I also the assessor at that field of study. Yeah. My research interest is rainfall-induced slope instability problem, unsaturated soil, numerical analysis in geotechnical engineering, and problematic soil. Next. Okay, we talk about climate change. We know that climate change is related to the global warming. Yeah, the world is getting hotter and hotter. Yeah. Study by Marachi and Baldi 2006 found that a rise of approximately 1 degree Celsius from 1860 to 2006. And then after that, Abbott and Mahorasi 2014 estimate if we compare from 1990 to projection in 2100, so we have a rise of 1.5 to 6 degrees Celsius. Yeah, so we expect that in 2100 we will have a very hotter than now. Yeah. And then I also read by USAID 2015 that the mean annual temperature in Indonesia increased by 0.8 Celsius from 2010 to 2017. So 0.8 degrees Celsius is a very big number actually. And the number of hot days and nights increased from 88 to 95 days per year, especially in July to September. So if before we have 88 nights, hot nights, now we have more hot nights. Yeah, we need air conditioner to get to sleep. Okay, next. Now, what are the factors causing global warming? Yeah. Despite the uncertainties, it is widely agreed that IPCC, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, state that human influence has been the dominant cause of the observed warming since the mid-20th century. So the development of is a very big influence on the global warming. Desil summarized that 5 factors causing global warming is 3 of them are related to human activities, industrial activities, agricultural activities, and deforestation. So there's a lot of activities that we have influence the global warming. This because my lifetime is already very lot. I'm 60 years old, more than 60 years old. I can feel. I mean, before, long time ago when I was small, the rain is just like that. You know, the rain, the weather, rain is not very bad, and then the drought season, okay, and then we never experience flood in the high mountainous area. But now the rain is like a storm. Finally, it's a storm, and then the dry season is only very hot. And then we have a lot of flood in many areas, including the high altitude. Yeah. Okay, next. Okay. Due to the global warming, the climate change will have an influence on the increase in precipitation. As you know, Indonesia is located in a tropical region, and it is categorized as AF. AF means a tropical, F means rainfalls. So tropical climates are defined as location where the coolest monthly mean temperature is above 18 degrees Celsius. The climate of Indonesia is primarily influenced by the El Nino, Southern Oscillation or ENSO, where drier conditions are experienced during El Nino events and wetter conditions during La Nina events. We are talking about now is already November, but we still experience dry condition. Yeah, it's a anomaly. Yeah. The climate change is expected to increase the severity of the storm and in the wet season and drought in the dry season. So, in the wet season, rainfall occurs more frequently and lasts longer, yeah, as compared to long time ago. So the rain will be high intensity and last longer. The prolonged rainfall and severe rainstorm would result in an increased occurrence of rainfall-induced slope failure. Extreme evaporation during dry season could result in the development of cracks and on the ground surface, which initiate the propagation of the failure plane in the slope. Next. Then, due to the two problems I mentioned before, the climate change has an impact on slope instability. So if we compare to before, we have more slope failure than before. I did some research on the slope failure in western part of South Sumatra, and we can see there is an increased number of slope failure in those areas. Yeah. There are many factors affecting the slope instability: geology, topography, soil types, soil properties, local climate, i.e. rainfall and evaporation, and water flow patterns within the slope. Both engineered and natural slope are equally threatened by climate variability, as it leads to change in the occurrence of extreme events, particularly temperature, which is evaporation and precipitation. We have a lot of research on this, and you can see in our publication. Therefore, it is important to evaluate the impact of climate change on increasing precipitation and slope instability to help decision makers and engineers in mitigating the damage that could be incurred from the hazard. Next. Okay, so this presentation will be focused on the effect of climate change on rainfall patterns and slope instability. Next. This is a rainfall-induced slope failure. Rainfall-induced slope failure is the slope failure is triggered by rainfall. Sometimes we just go through the road, and then we can see a slope is stable, is standing there for a long time, very steep slope, but it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. But suddenly rainfall occur, and then it's failed. Yeah. It's like if it is due to earthquake, we can expect, yeah. But this is due to rain, yeah. Suddenly it happened, and then usually rainfall induced slow failure is shallow failure. It's shallow, it's very fast, and then it's very hard to mitigate. Next. Okay. Actually, there are 4 mechanisms related to the rainfall-induced instability. The first mechanism is there is a rainfall, and then after that infiltration, and then after that wetting front. This wetting front will result in decrease in suction, shear strength reduction, and slope failure. The second mechanism is rainfall infiltration will increase the weight of the soil and therefore driving force on the failure plane. And then the third mechanism, if there is a layer and water will be collected at the layer and form the perch water table and then slope failure. The fourth one is the one that usually assumed by engineer, yeah, who don't want to study unsaturated soil mechanics. So they use this one, the wetting front reaching groundwater level, causing the groundwater level to increase and then slope failure. Okay, next. Okay, the mechanism 2, 3, and 4, there is no background on that, because it's not related to the real condition. The real condition is that the tropical residual soil has a very deep groundwater table, so water will, it needs a very long rainfall to reach the saturated zone, then causing the increase in groundwater level. Also, usually the shear plane is very shallow, so it will not reach different type of soil. So the first mechanism is the most possible for the rainfall-induced slope instability, and therefore we need the knowledge on unsaturated soil mechanics. Okay, next. Okay, this one I already explained. Yeah, the mountainous area usually formed by residual soil where the groundwater level is far from ground surface. So instability of the slope during rainfall is commonly encountered in unsaturated soil, especially the tropical area with frequently severe rainfall events. The problem related to this one is need the comprehensive knowledge on the unsaturated soil properties. Okay, next. Okay, the most important parameter that affects the behavior of unsaturated soil is soil suction. Rainfall infiltration decrease the suction. The slope is more susceptible to failure during the rainy season. Okay, as I mentioned before, the climate change will affect the rainfall pattern. The intensity is getting bigger and the duration is getting long. So water is going to more water will going to infiltrate into the soil, causing the slope failure. Next.
Reminder, Prof. 3 minutes more.
Okay. It's okay. Next. Okay, I skip this one, theoretical part. Okay. Next. Okay, next. Okay. So there is a different soil. I mentioned before, it depends on the soil. So there are 2 types of soil we use. Sandy soil with high permeability, rain will infiltrate into the soil very fast. Yeah. Then the slope failure will occur quickly. Yeah. So high intensity rain will affect the soil formed by sandy soil. In clay soil or low permeability soil, we need long rainfall. So both high intensity and prolonged rainfall causing by the climate has effect on the slope stability. Next. Okay, I skip this one. Okay, this one I skip also. Okay, so there are three properties actually that's affected by the rainfall is the soil water characteristic curve and the coefficient of permeability, and then also the shear strength. Next. Now this slide explains to you there are three properties that is affected by water. Yeah, the first one is SWCC, the second one is the permeability function, and then the third one is the shear strength of the soil. Next. Okay, next. Okay. So analysis of rainfall-induced slope failure consists of at least two steps. The first one is the seepage analysis for rainfall infiltration and analysis of transient distribution of water pressure and slope stability analysis at any selected time. So in the analysis of rainfall-induced slope failure, we need to do transient analysis, not the steady-state analysis. Deformation analysis could be included if adjustment to slope the movement is required. Next. Okay. So, what are the effects of climate change that we could consider for rainfall-induced slope instability? It is the rainfall scenario. What's scenario of rainfall that could be considered for the later on we develop the early warning system. Yeah. Okay. Next. Okay. There are many research done in different locality. For example, Hong Kong, Portugal, Singapore, Malaysia, Indonesia. Yeah. And they consider two combination of two rainfall. The first one is what they call is antecedent rainfall atau hujan awal, which is with low intensity, long duration, and then the major rainfall with this high intensity and short duration. Okay.
Okay.
This research in different locality result in different scenario. So next slide will, okay, maybe the next slide. Okay, this is some of the different duration of antecedent rainfall triggering slope failures in different countries. Like in Malaysia, 3 days, in Taiwan, 5 days, Singapore, 5 days, China, 7 days, Indonesia is 15 days.
Okay.
In my study, I consider up to 30 days.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, next. Conclusion.
Yeah, conclusion.
Okay. Okay, skip this one. So, the conclusion of my presentation is study shows that rainfall patterns and temperature are likely to change under climate change. The frequency, intensity, and duration of extreme rainfall events are undergoing changing patterns in the 21st century amidst the climate change. Increase in temperature directly influence extreme weather events such as storms and droughts. Increase in temperature, which is the one that we experience nowadays. Extreme weather events have been identified as one of the major triggering factors for landslide of slope failure. Changes in extreme weather result in a prolonged and intense rainfall season. The presence of crack aggravates the effect of rainfall infiltration in the slope. Moreover, the repetitive wet, dry, etc. worsen the situation. Maybe for the first year okay, second year okay, third year is a slope failure. Analysis of rainfall-induced landslide or slope failure requires the knowledge of unsaturated soil mechanics because the tropical residual soil have a groundwater table is very deep. The fourth one, rainfall scenario triggering the rainfall-induced slope instability is affected by different factors such as geometry, characteristic of the soil forming the slope, locality, and more importantly, the rainfall patterns. Inclusion of the prediction of climate change in the study on the rainfall scenario causing slope failure is essential in the development of early warning system. Okay, maybe next, just references. Okay, next. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Please giving applause for Prof. Nurli Gofar. This is such a, what we call a great moment because we have so many multidiscipline in here, and then when I saw from the first keynote speaker until now, and then we will hear about social from Dr. Ruhana, University Malaya. Actually, it's very SDGs. We're talking about good wealth, gender equality next, and then economic growth by Prof. Feguo, the sustainability communities by Prof. Valerie, and also the climate change, the 13, right? The 13 SDGs. Yes. What a nice conference, actually. Prof, prepare for the questions.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And then I will go to the last keynote speaker for this conference. I will already connected with Dr. Ruhana. I want to say hi for Dr. Ruhana. Assalamualaikum from Indonesia, Dr. Ruhana. How are you, Kana? That's very nice hearing from you. Actually, we're here with hundreds of participants in here. Maybe you want to say hi? Of course. Dr. Ruhana, are you already set with your presentation? Can we go for your session now?
Yes.
Okay, the time is yours, Dr. Ruhana.
Can you display my PowerPoint? Okay, thank you everyone. And thank you very much, Madam Moderator. Very good afternoon. Salam from the ICHIBA conference this year. Okay. Today, about gender, technology, media, and time, I want to touch a bit on okay. Okay, next
slide, please. Next slide.
Yeah, because okay. So first, like to discuss about technology because how to continue with another. So the most important thing that I need to discuss here is about the concept of technology. So in terms of various different technologies, computers, and equipment. Technology usually used in the production process. Therefore, in its wider sense, technology now knowledge, ideas, and skills that help them and use of the new technology. The idea of technology is one of the use, and firstly is coined by Thorstein Veblen. Veblen stressed that technology shapes a society and culture rather than that we use to now technology becomes so important. Actually nowadays a lot of technology now uses us, not like we use technology, yeah? Okay, technology is becoming increasingly dominant in most society, and that is more having a profound impact on human behavior. Okay, so the main argument that I want to highlight today is technology is as an autonomous entity. For example, an artificial intelligence or analytics leverage. So now, technology is autonomous entity operating independently of human behavior. So humans involved in AI has its own freedom and logic and subject to human. How advanced technology in our days. Technology is a driving development. When I listen to Dr. Imam talking about development, technology also supports society and changes our behavior and interactions. Changes. For example, how we use Instagram and how actually communicates differently. The way we interact. Another thing is that technology also adds an independent factor. Society is impacted by its dominant technology. For example, he said that the weak commitment gives the society is not. This is so if we will represent agriculture that will over the land and of production. One person work on the land and produce food. But nowadays, industry capitalism. This is the first. The rise of and capitalism. They got the technology and the next conference and the production. Efficient, now it's become efficient and we can actually progress in mass production. So, another technology that I would like to speak is about smartphone and internet usage. So, of course, it's very interesting ICT devices that we use via our mobile phone that I think until now has played a crucial role in improving our life. Yeah? Okay. Technological determinism is a
Ya, ya, Dr. Rohana.
Technological feminism also propose that technological advancement and innovations are the drivers of social and cultural change. Propounded by the scholar Marshall Washington, the theory stipulates that technology more than any factor influences social behavior to change. So now it's like technology change, it's not like change because of the technology. Okay, so technology determinism actually divided into two categories here. Is known as hard determinism, hold that technology plays a complete and totalizing role in shaping human society, and another thing is soft determinism, believe that while technology is an important factor in shaping the course of human history, the manner in which human interact in society also need to be considered. So our human behavior is important to look and to study. Okay, the strength of technology determinism is to provide a theoretical explanation for the evolution of all human societies. Number two, the technological determinism theory is not rigid and can adapt to explain complex phenomena. The criticism of technology determinism is oversimplified narrative, meaning human interactions with technology and the impact of such interactions form of complex process that cannot always be reduced to a simple cause and effect relationship as envisioned by technological determinism. Yeah? So, another critique is technology determinism ignores the preference of premium. Technological determinism overlooks the role that human premium plays in the use of technology.
Sampai ke level S3.
Okay. Next. Technology is conceptualized as a source and consequences of gender relations. I think it's another slide. The previous slide.
Sebelumnya. Previous slide sebelumnya.
Oh no, not this slide, another slide. Okay, this one.
Okay.
So technology and culture. Actually, in gender perspective, technology plays as a masculine, meaning male energy is the result of historical and cultural constructions of gender. So usually, technology look at the masculine side. Technology has a masculine image which is probably the truth in terms of female underrepresentation in engineering profession. So another you also can representative important in your country, in Malaysian country or other countries. How many women's representation in IT sector or innovation? You also can have a look on the statistic of women representation in science, technology, engineering and mathematics, or STEM, and how actually women's interaction with technology. In our country, society is more specific component. Usually, the usage of technology is seen as choices of in our society who have most the say in how we allocate our resources and how we plan for the future. Here it suggests that usually it is on the people who decide how we allocate our resources. Yeah? Okay, technology and culture are not neutral. The creation, usage, and adoption is determined by individual society. For example, usage of camera and smartphone, social media, and internet usage among the young people. Actually, I would like to ask you how actually you would like how you use your smartphone for information or for entertainment or how actually you try to use your smartphone. Okay. Social determinism and post-modernism, social determinism believe that social circumstances alone select which technologies are adopted. With the result that no technology can be considered as inevitable for various. Jadi mau sini. We have to also discuss here about gender character of technology itself. It's like washing machine and robot. Who actually the user of washing machine and who actually the user of robot? So in terms of gender relations, for example, in gender relations of level. Di mana? So actually these things are influenced by social factors, social norms, social conditioning, cultural additions, ideologies, and also policy shape. Feminists study criticize the patriarchal society the concentration of media on of communication, the unequal access telecommunications infrastructure, and the international division of labor. And the media, telecommunications, and information technology sector. Gender is embedded in technical science, the capacity of users to produce meaning. Advantages reading and artifacts is dependent on their broader economic and social circumstances. Techno-feminism exposes how the concrete practices of design and innovation lead to the absence of specific uses such as women. Yeah? Both socialist and radical feminism began to analyze the gendered nature of technical expertise and to spotlight on artifacts themselves. The social factors that shape different technologies came under scrutiny, especially the way technology reflects gender divisions and inequalities. The problem was not only men monopoly the technology, but also the way gender is embedded in technology itself. Radical feminism focused on women's body and sexuality. Yeah. Socialist feminism was the relationship between women's work and technology. Hence, socialist feminist frameworks then saw masculinity as embedded in the machinery itself, highlighting the role of technology as a key source of male power. Yes, in fact, as neutral and social relations, including gender relations, are materialized in tools and techniques. Technology was seen as
Dr. Ruhana, your time is quite limited.
Yes.
The time is quite limited, maybe about 5 minutes more.
Okay.
Thank you, doctor.
So, the increase of the technology and improve and enhance the contribution to the women empowerment. To ensure the optimal positive effect and the growing use. Okay, so maybe I can just finish the first example and my presentation. Okay, because I know
Okay.
it's too late already.
Thank you, doc.
Okay. So due to the growing use of the ICT devices in the developing nations like Malaysia and Indonesia, and also the significance ICTs in national policies like SDG 5, yeah, that created gender equality and women's empowerment, women's rights and gender justice, and also the campaign to foster creativity and innovation. Yeah. So I think maybe you can share my slides because I had a lot of things to
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I can end my shoes here, Shanti.
Okay, doctor.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ruhana. Please giving applause for Dr. Ruhana from University Malaya. It's an honor for us for having you, Dr. Ruhana. And don't worry, because all the slides will available in our website, ichiba.sosaic.com as by today. And then all the participants can download the slide from all keynote speaker in this conference. So thank you so much, Dr. Ruhana. And there's some, sorry, Doc? Yeah, there's some questions for all keynote speaker in the WhatsApp group. Actually, all participant is gathered together in WhatsApp group, and then I will read a couple of questions that already come into our group. Okay, maybe I will give the first keynote speaker to answer about, there's a question from Mr. Nobody. I don't know who is Mr. Nobody in here? Anyone? Mr. Nobody? Oh, okay, hi Mr. Nobody. Okay, thank you for the questions. I have listened to your presentation, that's very helpful in our life, Dr. Taha. This is the question for Dr. Taha. But in some place, thought in some case, especially in university student, thesis is the thesis that finish. Great thesis is the thesis that finish. Okay, but some people misinterpretation that mindset with do whatever things for research process. How about your opinion about AI? Last time we talked about AI, right? Maybe the use of ChatGPT to do a research. What do you think with that case to the generation of AI? Dr. Taha, please come to the stage. I'm alone in here. So what do you think about the AI technology? Actually, it helps, yeah, it really helps, but somehow it's also makes some bad things about research. Okay, thank you, Dr. Taha. The time is yours.
Okay, thank you for the question. Okay, I think in the past 5 years, we don't have this kind of technology to help us in. We don't have this kind of technology to help us in doing research. It's only came like two years ago. before that, we are very much dependent on Google Scholar, but the output, they are quite limited, right? Somehow, we as a researcher, as a scholar, when we do research, I believe that we need to have some originality. We need to have, our research need to show the originality of the idea is such that, yes, ChatGPT can give us a lot of new ideas because it's generative AI. It generates new ideas. If you ask for 10, it gives you 10. If you ask for 100, it can even give you 100.
Okay.
But it is up to us whether we want to, everything we dependent. We cannot be too dependent on this kind of technology. We need to have our own originality, our own voice, such that we are standing as a reputable or credible researcher. Right?
Yeah, it's help, but somehow we also have to worry because in social part, Dr. Ruhana maybe agree with me or Prof. Valerie, in communications part, there's a digital intimacy. So intimacy more in digital because we can texting with, I don't know who answer it, it's a machine, right? Dr. Taha, and it's quite related about the loneliness itself. Thank you so much, Dr. Taha. Okay, because it's Friday, so actually we want to continue all the session of question and answer, but somehow there's a student from Papua there, want to entertain us. Okay, thank you so much for today. I really hope that all the questions will be answered, and then we'll give a feedback to your email. I already know the name, and then you can get the souvenir. The committee will give the souvenir later after the parallel. Thank you so much, Dr. Taha. Thank you so much, Prof. Nurli. Thank you so much, Prof. Valerie. Thank you so much, Dr. Ruhana and Prof. Fego. I'm a really happy moderator today because I learned so many things from multidiscipline science. Thank you so much. And then I will give back to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you so much, Ibu Dr. Ramasanti Zinaida, for leading the conference very well, perfectly. Thank you so much. Well, the next agenda, we will invite the Vice Rectors of Academic Universitas Bina Dharma, Bapak Muhammad Isman Herdiansyah PhD, and then the Vice Rector of Kerjasama, Ibu Dr. Yanti Pasmawati. Please come forward on the stage to give the token of appreciation to our keynote speaker. We will invite Prof. Nurli and then Bapak Dr. Muhammad Taha come forward to the stage to get the token appreciation. Well, the first token appreciation will be delivered by Bapak Muhammad Isman Herdiansyah PhD to Bapak Dr. Muhammad Taha Ijab. This token appreciation given to the keynote speakers who have delivered the speech on site here on Arya Duta Hotel. Well, the second appreciation will be delivered by Ibu Dr. Yanti Pasmawati to Professor Nurli as the keynote speaker from Universitas Bina Dharma.
Please give a big round of applause.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Please have a seat. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Ferry, we're going to entertain the member of the house with a dance. This is also a traditional dance of the indigenous people of Papua Saireri region, which is usually known also as a social dance of friendship or of teenagers. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy Yosip Pancar dance. Okay, please give applause to students of ADIK. Yeah, they are the students of Universitas Bina Dharma from Papua. Thank you very much. Well, would like to thank our sponsors of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are
Amanda Brownies.
New Face,
Then we have nasi uduk siru,
Dimsum Seribuan,
pempek dos cabe,
Dapur Pas Sedap,
and Rumah Makan Minang Raya 2. Thank you so much for supporting our event for today. Then, ladies and gentlemen, it is the end of our our opening ceremony, and then our first sessions of the conference, and then after this we will continue to the parallel sessions, and then the information it is we have three room for the parallel session, and then it will be held after we doing Jumat prayer, and then take a rest for your lunch time. And then we will we need to inform you that for Jumat prayer it will be held on our right side room, yeah. And then to get wudu, you could do on our restroom on the left side of the room, and then it could be in the upstairs of this room.
Okay, we apologize for any shortcomings in organizing this event, and thank you. See you in the next 2025 Ichiba Sosei. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, after this we will get our parallel session. If we have informed you that we have 3 rooms, so you could check your room on the administration table in front of the room, and then please have your lunch. The committee have prepared your lunch on the in front side of the rooms. Then doing while the men are doing Jum'ah prayer, so the woman could be start your lunch. Thank you.
And the parallel session will be started at 1:30. So please be in the room where you are in before the time.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And then make sure that you are on the right room for the parallel session. Thank you.